Hello, welcome back to ImageOut's YouTube channel. My name is Michael Gamilla. I'm the programming director, and happy to be joined today by Wes Hurley, the writer and director of ImageOut's spotlight film, Potato Dreams of America. Welcome, Wes.
Thank you, Michael. Thanks for having me, and thanks for having the film and the program.
Oh well, I this is you know we go way back with this film because the film started out its journey as a short documentary back in 2017, right? And I don't know if you remember it, but ImageOut actually nominated it for the Iris Prize back then.
Hmm.
And that's how much I enjoyed your story. And little did I know that it was going to be a feature film. So I guess um, that's a good first question, I guess. Was that the plan all along when you started the short documentary that you wanted this to be a feature film?
Yes, I actually. So I wrote the screenplay about 8 years ago, and so I knew from the beginning that the feature film is what I wanted to make. And as is the case with a lot of indie films, it's really hard to get off the ground and get the funding and stuff. And midway through that process, I got a tiny grant to make a film, and I made a short doc. And in my mind, it was sort of as a way to build momentum for the feature, and it helped out a lot because the short was successful, and it was easier to sort of introduce the story to people that way and say, like, now let's make a feature now.
Well, even as a short doc, it was also very stylish in a way,
Mm,
and it has its own voice, which
thank you.
when you compare it to what you produce in the narrative, it's also very distinct. And I love that you brought the story of Potato into the narrative feature, and it's just a very distinct style. Like my programmer said, it's like watching two films. Do you want to talk about that and how you wanted it presented in the narrative in the narrative film?
Yeah, for me, it was like really important to show the sort of dramatic transition from Russia to the United States, almost from like our perspective, because it felt to us as immigrants, it felt such a dramatic change. And coming to another country, you don't speak the language. It feels like you're suddenly a different person.
Yeah.
Feels you're on a different planet almost, and so I wanted that jolt for the audience to also feel that huge change, like they're in a different universe and the reality is completely different. And for that reason, I made Russia is a very sort of dark theatrical world where things are kind of claustrophobic and flat and um, dark, and then when they come to the States, it's more spacious and light, and just feels less claustrophobic and open. And in terms of, you know, accents, it was really, again, really important to me to highlight the difference, So in Russian half, they're just speaking English because they're in their own world. And so I want for American audiences to experience it the same way they would like watching a Chekhov's play where, you're just watching the story, but the characters are in their own world. Versus when you're an immigrant, you're like an alien. You completely you don't fit in. You're sort of childlike because you can't communicate in the same as articulately as you could in your native country. Um, so again, that was really important for me to have that dramatic change and hopefully get the audience in the mindset of an immigrant of how huge that change is.
It's I thought it was fascinating that the Russian part of the story was seemed like a stage production, and very choreographed and all that, which I thought I actually really liked it. You know, it's almost like it's very artsy. And
Mm-hmm.
then and I don't know if what you're trying to say is that, you know, that it's life in Russia is so difficult that you know, you don't want to present it in a depressing kind of way, but maybe you found a way to present it, you know, by presenting it that way, it doesn't have to be dark. And I, I guess I guess I'm just trying to ask what was your what were you trying to do presenting Russia that way?
Yeah, I mean, part of it was, that Russia that I grew up in, it doesn't really exist anymore. It's especially the city that I'm from. It really looked like, kind of post-apocalyptic landscape when I was growing up, and it's totally different now. So what I wanted to show is sort of a child's perspective on reality, where it's much more heightened and over the top, and also infuse it with the sense of humor that I think Russian people have a very dark sense of humor because to cope with reality. So having a lot of humor in the story was really important to me. But for the most part, the goal was to show this sort of a child's view of the world, because Potato is still a child in that half of the film. um, Things are not quite, the same as an adult sees them.
Yeah, but I like that when you switch to America, it felt more like a reality. You know, it's more real,
Hmm.
and I love that the character there it's like totally different characters, like totally different actors, and so it's really a switch somewhere in, you know, somewhere between the two. There's a switch that turned on, and it became a totally different movie. And some people are thrown off by that. What kind of feedback have you been getting about it?
Yeah, it's interesting. A lot of people say they totally, it's seamless to them, that transition, and it makes sense. And a lot of people are thrown off by it, and um, which I think is cool. Whatever reaction you get, I wanted to do something different with it. Like I said, to sort of convey that sense of, when you go to a different country, you're a different person. And so, if some audience members will find it sort of jarring, I think that's great, because that's the intent, to feel that jolt of change. And
I
I,
could totally relate. I could totally relate because I'm an immigrant myself. So when you know, you know what to expect from watching TV and all that, but when you're actually here, uh, and you know, it's a different culture, and it's a different experience. So I could totally relate with what you're saying.
yeah.
And so Potato is your story. Was there how was your comfort level in telling your story about your family and you, and how you were uh, processing your sexuality at the time as a young person?
It was, when I started writing the script, one of the reasons I used the name Potato instead of using my real name was to sort of create distance for myself when I write, to sort of compartmentalize a little bit, so that I could be as honest, and raw about that experience as possible. Um, and because it took me so long to, from the time that I wrote the screenplay and all the changes that went through, and um, trying to raise the money, like I got really desensitized. The fact that it's such an intimate, personal story. So by the time we started shooting, it was almost like just making a movie about, somebody else, even though it is very it's like 99% autobiographical. It's very, very faithful to how things were. Um, but after a while, it just feels like you're just telling somebody else's story. um,
Now, did you say that were you really called Potato when you were younger, or did you just make that up just to
um,
make it feel like it's a it's a different person?
it was like my mom had a bunch of nicknames for me, and so it was one of the nicknames, but it's not like everyone called me that,
Yeah,
so I took it up a notch in the film where it's like that's how everybody calls them for
yeah.
that reason. But yeah, it was definitely just one of me. There were other nicknames that my mom had for me. And
So has your mom seen the movie?
yeah, she saw it. I'm so happy she got to see it for the first time in Deauville in France, and I guess it
In
was like,
France?
yeah. And
Does she live there?
no, she flew in for Deauville Film Festival, and I guess there was like 1,200 people, and they gave her a standing ovation.
Wow.
So it was quite. I'm really happy that she waited to see it in this really special way, Um, and it was her decision. She was like, "I don't want to watch it online. I want to see it when I can see it in the theater, and have that experience." So I'm really happy she had that.
Oh, she just wants to travel.
Yeah.
And did you
Seriously.
make it to the same screening or just her?
No, she went, and then a couple of our actors went, like Leah Delaria went,
Yeah.
Hirsch and Sarah went. Yeah, but no, I didn't go.
Oh, well, actually, this is a good segue to my next question. Just looking at the actors, especially you have some um, very well-known actors, especially from the LGBTQ community, that are in your film, like Jonathan Bennett. When I was watching it, is that Jonathan Bennett? Because he looks like him. And Leah Delaria. I mean, at first I didn't know that they were. I just thought they looked like them, but I wasn't sure until after the end that I looked up who were playing the characters. How did you get them to work with your film?
Uh, so we worked with a wonderful casting agent in New York to cast some of the bigger name actors. So I cast vast majority of the film with Seattle talent, people that I know, and I auditioned, and then we knew we wanted some recognizable you know names and faces in the film, so we went with Patricia Mccorkle in New York, and she was incredible. And it was so fun because when I wrote, like, for example, when I wrote the role for my grandma, Leah Delaria was my dream choice, but I didn't really know that that's going to be possible. It was just like kind of a fantasy. So when she said yes, it just felt like, okay, this is really happening.
It just felt so strange to watch Leah Delaria in a grandmother role. I, I'm just so used to seeing her act, like her comedy act, like this, rugged butch type of lesbian, and then to see her in a grandmother role was just a little jarring to me. But kudos to you for making it happen.
Thank you.
What about how was it working with Jonathan? He was so much fun in your movie.
Thank you. Yeah, he was really fun. He came, I think we only shot with him for a couple days, and he came, and one of the things that I appreciated is he instantly bonded with Hirsch, our little actor, playing Potato, and just created this. They just had this amazing chemistry where they were like laughing and hanging out on set. And so when it was time to shoot their scenes, it really felt like they were best friends, like what it's meant to be like in the film.
Yeah,
It's like this very gay Jesus.
he was good. The boy that played Potato in the first part of the movie, he was really good.
Yeah, he's such a talented kid.
Yeah,
So lucky I got him.
yeah, but so is Potato when he got older in America. He was also good.
Thank you.
Now, I, I of course I love the film, but I wasn't used to. This is your first feature film, right?
No, it's
No,
technically like my third.
your third. Okay, I guess I didn't research enough.
That.
I was just gonna say that I'm used to some of your films from before that are naughtier.
Oh yeah, yeah.
This is the. I think this is what I'm trying to say is this is the first film that is probably more mainstream that you
Yeah,
consider.
I think it's as mainstream as I ever got this film for sure. Yeah.
Yeah, there was some nothing there were some sexy parts in the second part of the film, but I'm just so used to your other films that this felt like very mainstream.
It's very tame. Yeah, it's very tame comparing to my shorts.
Yeah. So how was that experience for you making a film that's different from what your usual?
Yeah, it was, it was interesting. It was a fun challenge to do something that I haven't done before, which is I usually have such a, how do I say it? This sort of a dark, cynical humor to all of my work and the kind of camp sensibility. And I think it's still present in this film, but it's also very earnest. And I've never done anything that is this earnest and like, people keep saying like it has a big heart, this film, and it does, because and I think the way that like I could never write a story like that from like a fictional perspective, because I would just feel like it's too too sweet or something.
It's too
But because
hokey.
the story,
Yeah.
I was like, well, this all of this really happened, so it's worth telling. Um, but that earnestness was kind of an unusual thing for me, for sure. That felt very new.
Yeah. Well, it really did well for us when we screened it at the theater,
Oh,
and I got a few messages from people that it wasn't what they were expecting. It was a uh, quirky movie, and I thought that's why I felt like it needed to be highlighted in the lineup,
thank
um, and because it's not only an indie film, but it's a very differently handled indie film, and it needs something special to you know to designate it in the lineup. That's why it's a spotlight selection for us.
thank you so
But
much. Appreciate it.
but I hope you could continue on this in this journey in your filmmaking. But I like that you're challenging yourself to doing different things and not just focusing on one lane.
Yeah,
And yeah,
I mean, filmmaking is so hard, and it takes a long time. So you know, doing the same thing would just get excruciatingly boring. So I feel like, for me, like I'm always interested in doing something that I haven't done before. Um, I mean, it still has a lot of the things that I love and have been in my other stuff, but
but
um,
you're expanding on it, which is
expand.
good.
I'm
Yeah,
going in a different direction in a way.
yeah. So what's next for you?
I'm writing a script based on another true story, not mine, but a series of memoirs that my friend wrote. And if you can believe it, it makes my story seem very ordinary.
Wow. Now
So
I'm looking forward to that.
yeah, I'm really excited to tell that story. And it's also going to be, I think, a lot more realistic and sort of grounded um, from my other work. So it's another way that I want to sort of, grow and change and do something different.
So are you Seattle is your home base, right?
Hmm.
Are you planning on filming it in Seattle also?
I think so. I mean, I would love to film it in Seattle. It's set in Seattle. It's set in the 90s, Seattle, sort of during the grunge era, and the whole grunge scene is a big part of it. And so I would love to shoot in Seattle, but also, filmmaking is hard. If somebody gave me money to shoot it in, Rochester or Oakland or whatever, I would
Right?
move it to whatever.
I know
Well,
New York is giving all kinds of tax deductions, so people would shoot here.
yeah,
Anyway, well, it's
yeah.
nice to have you with us today, Wes. And once again, very thankful that you did Potato Dreams of America. Sometimes when I mention the title, it's like a play on words. Like I thought it's Potato Dreams. Oh no, it's a noun, and he's dreaming. But it's a nice play on words. But anyway, thanks for joining us, and you have been exposed to our audience here in Rochester, and I'm sure you have a new following here. And I hope we'll see more from you in the coming years. And hopefully next time you'll be here in person in Rochester.
I would love that. Thank you so much, Michael. Thanks for supporting my work for many years now. I really appreciate it.
No problem. And we'll see you soon.
Okay, see you soon. Thank you, everybody.
Bye.
Film.